Hey guys, Joe McCall back here with Peter Vexelman, Real Estate Investing Mastery Podcast, and this is the Brilliant at the Basics series where Peter Vexelman and I try to just break things down into its simplest, most basic form and talk about this business. Those of you who were listening to the previous episode that we just did, I talked about how Peter's doing 30, 40 deals a month in multiple different markets all over the country, doing really, really well, and we talked about marketing. And we're going to dive into a little bit more detail about marketing. Peter, I know you send a lot of postcards. You do a lot of direct mail. How much, of all the marketing that you do, what percent of that marketing that it comes and those leads that come from your marketing come from direct mail?
Well, I've been involved in the industry for a long time, and throughout my business, I've utilized different systems and different ways of getting deals. As we sit here today, an overwhelming majority of our deals come as a result of direct mail. I mean, I'd say probably, upwards of 80, 90% of our deals come in that, because we're in a very competitive market right now. I mean, across the country, definitely in the market that I'm in, Atlanta. And so in today's world, you really, really have to know how to market, which direct mail allows you to do, to the seller. So an overwhelming majority of our deals right now, as a matter of fact, my whole company right now is set up, you've been here to my office, is really set up around negotiators, and an overwhelming majority of their time, the negotiators are working directly with sellers, which come as a result of our direct mail postcards.
Direct mail has always worked, and it always will work. We can get all fancy and advanced and technical, and I was just talking to Peter about an app called Slack. Those of you that, Peter, I always give him a hard time. He gives me a hard time, actually, is the way it is, about technology. And I have an iPhone right here and an iPad right there. I have two iPads right here, actually, and my MacBook Pro. And Peter's on this old Windows PC that can barely work. But guess who does more deals? I don't know. So it shows you how important all this technology really is. But I'm just kidding. In seriousness, direct mail, I remember hearing a few years ago that direct mail's dead. The internet's where it's at. All of the leads, we don't need to do direct mail anymore. You can just do internet marketing and do social media and SEO and do YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and get all the seller leads you could use for a lot cheaper and more efficiently and all of that. But you know what? Direct mail, even though you can call the post office the old dinosaur, it still refuses to die. People still open their mail. They still look at their postcards. And as long as a UPS or USPS is delivering mail, it's going to get in people's hands. And there's a lot of advantages to direct mail, Peter. One of the things I can think about is when you're doing internet marketing, you can't target specific properties that are owned by specific people in specific neighborhoods, right? But with direct mail, you can say, send this mail to specific targeted areas that I'm interested in. Specific types of homes, maybe only 3 bedrooms, maybe only properties that have garages, or only specific owners who meet certain criteria. They're landlords, or maybe they're over 55 years old, right? And you can, so there's targeted lists that you can use for direct mail. Now, before we get into the type of direct mail, Peter, could you elaborate on that a little bit, and who do you like to target in your direct mail?
Well, let me tell you another big advantage. You're talking about advantages. I mean, I think if you compare the seller marketing to sellers, so, there's really a couple ways to do that. For instance, you got the direct mail, maybe you got some web-based, you could put some billboards up and stuff like that. So you're right, the targeting is the key there, but the other key is the cost. We've utilized pretty much all seller form of marketing, very heavily on the web, done huge billboards across Atlanta and all this, and I could tell you, bar none, when you compare it, the costs on the direct mail side, it's not even close. It's not one of those things you have to keep this unbelievable spreadsheets on. I mean, it's just, yeah. So the other huge advantage to direct mail is the cost. Now I go back to your question in terms of what to utilize, what kind of postcards and all that. A lot of times it depends on the individual. For instance, again, you've seen my office here. I'm fully staffed with 12 full-time negotiators that are here 6 days a week from, morning till at night. So if you got a sizable operation and enough resources and enough infrastructure, The goal is to use the type of postcard that's going to generate calls. We're in a numbers game here. We are very specific. We know that if we get enough cracks at it, the ability to talk to sellers on a daily basis, the numbers are going to work out in our favor. We get our phones ringing here with sellers sometimes as many. Well, on a daily basis, we get between 500 and 1,000 seller calls coming into our office.
That's insane.
So no, well, but again, I'm staffed for it. I'm able to handle that kind of volume, and I just play the numbers. Now, on the other hand, if I'm an individual that's a one-man show, I got a full-time job, I'm doing real estate on the side, I'm not going to try to blow up my phone. I'm not going to try to get that phone to ring 50 times a day, just for a simple reason. I can't handle that. So in that regard, you want to go with a postcard that's a little bit more targeted. Specifically, and I'm not just talking about targeted towards the areas, which you do want to do, but target towards the message too. You want to say pretty clearly what it is you're doing, that you are an investor, that you're looking to buy a property, so that when those calls come in, you might not be getting, 20, 30, 50 calls a day. You might only be getting 2 to 5 calls a day, but A, you could handle it. B, you're not really playing the numbers game at that point. You're just talking to very qualified sellers. So the message really depends on the individual and how they want to handle it. And the other thing you want to think about in terms of messaging in direct mail, which almost everybody overlooks, but it's something that I could tell you is a huge determining factor, is who's going to take your calls. One of the big things in this industry, I think if you talk to 100 random investors, 95% of them will say go to voicemail automatically. It's almost like an assumed thing in this business that you're going to go to either some kind of an answering service, a system, or you're going to go to a voicemail. Very few times do you talk to investors who are active or thinking about being active, and you get anything but those kinds of answers. So basically you go to a third party. Whereas I could tell you from our personal experience, we're in a live environment here, meaning we take our calls live. So here's what that does immediately overnight. It doubles your numbers. It literally doubles your numbers, because it's and I think you were telling me you were at some meeting where people were talking about how long it takes them to get a hold of somebody,
That's right.
and the percentages are staggering, aren't they?
Well, yeah. Well, I'll just tell you this. I wish I could remember the exact numbers, but I want to be close. If you can get that seller on the phone or call them back within 5 minutes, your chances are 95% higher for reaching them and talking to them. And it's a curve, and it drops dramatically down. If you wait like 10 minutes, your chances are only like 20% to get a hold of them and talk to them. And also, what was important too in the study, this was a study that this guys did with their own phone tracking system. It takes an average of 6 to 8 calls. If they can make 6 to 8 calls, they will actually talk to 95%. Again, 95% of their customers. So the point is, answer the phone and call them back quickly and call them back often. But anyway.
Yeah, and if you think about everything you said there, a lot of that could be literally eliminated if you can go into actually a live environment. Yeah. Because if you're in a live environment, you don't think about it. I agree with this concept of 6 tries, but that takes time. So think about it. If you can go into direct mail into a live environment, now you don't have to potentially call somebody 6 times or 2 times or 3 times to get a hold of a seller. So those are the other things you want to be considering when you consider what kind of message you want on your direct mail, is who's going to take the calls. And again, from my opinion, whether you do whatever you can to get it live, and if you can't get it live, just listen to this tape again when you're talking about a couple minutes ago about the percentages. You've got to get a hold of these sellers. And look, we're in the world, you and I kid around technology you were talking about, and you're kind of the techo geek, but think we're in a world where you can rotate phone numbers now. I think it's Google Voice that offers the ability to take, one phone rings, you can't grab it, your partner's phone rings and all that. So, the days of not being able to get to a seller, at least in a quick manner, are gone by just utilizing some very basic technology out there and voicemail systems and apps and stuff like that.
Well, and even if you don't have the staff that you can put into your office, you could at least hire a live answering service to take your calls. And, if anything, you could have an assistant. Like I have a virtual assistant. I do about 5 to 10 deals a month. And the system we have right now that we're doing is a VA in the Philippines with great English will answer the phones live. And if she can't, we use Skype to do that. But if she can't, then it goes to voicemail and she calls them back pretty quickly immediately after that. And I'm to a point now where she's getting pretty busy, and pretty soon I'm probably either going to hire somebody new to help her or have all the calls go right to a live answering service. And right now my favorite is continentalmessaging.com. I've heard some really good things about them. I know some guys that are using them and like them a lot. But the point is, answer the phone, right? And when I need to clarify what I was saying earlier about the number of contacts. They looked at all of the deals they've done. And there was an average of 6 to 8 touches to that seller before getting it under contract and doing the deals, right? So the point is, you got to do what everybody else is not doing. And I can tell you this, all of your competition that you think is your competition out there is not answering the phone. They're not following up with sellers. They're not making offers. They're not following up over and over and over and over again. So good.
And let me say one thing about these answering services. The cool thing about a lot of them, like I know there's one here in Atlanta, they'll do live transfers too.
Yeah.
So, you could use a call center or call service to take your call, make sure you screen them, make sure you work with somebody that's not going to put people on hold and play background music and all that. But a lot of them have the technology now that if, you give them a series or whatever, 4 or 5 questions to answer, and if they got a live client on there, live seller who's motivated, boom. All they do is say, let me connect you to my partner out in the field. Yeah. You'd probably be able to go out there, take a look at it, and, they're doing a 3-way call right to you. So you're kind of getting rid of the junk up front. They're doing a 3-way call to you, and you're talking to the live seller. So that's probably the only way I'd use one. I would always make sure that they could do a live 3-way transfer.
That's really good. Now, we talked a little bit about direct mail postcards. I think, do you sending most of the postcards right now, Peter?
Yeah, we only send postcards. Again, we're playing the numbers game. We're not looking to get only the qualified. We just want the phones to ring. So we're creating a lot of urgency in our messaging and lighting up our phones.
Good. And then there's different kinds of postcards. There's more generic, general postcards. Hey, we've been trying to reach you. Call me. And then there's more specific postcards. Hey, I'm an investor and I want to buy your house. Call me. What do you like to send?
We like to send the ones that create some kind of urgency, whether it's kind of the first one you said, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of you, or I got something very important, or, this is the final time I'm going to try to get a hold, whatever it is. Again, in our thing, we're going not broad, but we're going very niche, tremendous urgency. We have some important information for you. Give us a call. And
so what kind of list do you like to mail to? Do you have a specific target you like to go after?
Well, again, because we're in a very much a numbers-driven game here, getting as many calls on a daily basis, we go broad, so we don't niche it out in a particular, probate or death or divorce and all that. We go non-rocks because that's just the biggest target market to go after, non-owner occupied.
Non-owner occupied or absentee owners.
Right, absentee owners, right, because it's such a broad list. Within there, you're capturing every other list. You're hitting the probates inadvertently. You're hitting the divorces inadvertently. You're hitting the evictions inadvertently. So we're going really broad and trying to get it all to come in here.
And how often do you mail the same list?
I want to say about 3 to 4 months, somewhere 3, 4, 5 months. We go back to the same areas.
Excellent.
Which is going to happen naturally, no matter what market you're in. You can never just go through it once. Yeah. So that's normal. People sometimes get so discouraged by that. Well, here's the reality. You're not the only one mailing to these people, okay? Yeah. So don't think just because you're mailing to the same person, this is like the only time they've seen this. They already got 20 postcards laying there. You know what I mean? You got to go through it multiple times, and sometimes even just to catch them at the right time. So there's nothing wrong with doing that.
That's one thing too. I'd encourage people, stop over analyzing it. Just, you got some target zip codes where your buyers are hungry and want deals, and just mail every absentee owner in that zip code. Stop trying to filter them out for equity or when they bought it, how long ago. Just send them all, because chances are a lot of them have multiple properties, and sometimes you're going to find a motivated seller that's only owned it for 6 months. And if you're filtering out for people who bought over 10 years ago, you're going to lose those. And there's less competition for those investors that bought just, within the last year. So I agree. I like mailing as many as I can. And a lot of times those, if they don't have a house to sell, they may become a buyer as well. Well, great.
No question.
It's been a good podcast, and I appreciate it, Peter. Thank you very much, guys. If you wanted more information about how to work with me and Peter and I, go to www.peterandjoe.com, peterandjoe.com. Notice I put your name first, Peter, in there.
Thank you.
I could have done joeandpeter.com.
I would have lost sleep for sure.
Actually, I think it was already taken. That's why I didn't.
Yeah, I'm sure it was something like that. But that's okay.
Anyway, and we'd like to talk to you guys. If you go to that page, there's a little video explaining about what we do and who we work with, and you can see if you're qualified or not. If you are, fill out that information on that page. Peter will actually call you, get on the phone and talk with you and see if you're a good fit. And we'd love to help you get your business set up and running and actually do deals with you, and so you can start seeing the same success. And even fly out to Peter's office and go see his operation there. It's pretty incredible. It's got 12 negotiators on the phone, jam-packed in there. Not jam-packed, but I mean, it blew me away when I was walking through there thinking, whoa, you got this many people in here? But they're on the phone. They're talking to sellers. It's so cool. You see this big board on the wall, the different columns of where the leads are in the whole process. So if you want to learn how to do deals, you need to learn from people who are doing deals. And that's what Peter and I are trying to provide. So, all right. Thanks again, Peter. Take care.
Thanks, Joe.